Hello, saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
Good morning, and what is happening, everybody? Again, I almost messed this up. I forgot what day it was. Happy Saturday morning, February 24th, 2024. And you guys are here for the live recording of Jester Section Hiker, your premier podcast with the spotlight on section hikers. And I am your host, Julie Jester Gayheart. And first and foremost, I want to give everybody in the chat a shout out. Thanks you all for joining us this morning. We truly appreciate it on this, what I am going to call a gorgeous sunny morning in the state of North Carolina. And I also want to give another shout out after episode number 172, which was the first episode of year 5 of the podcast. I think I can say this with 100% certainty. I received more messages after that episode than I have received in the past 4 years of the podcast. All positive messages, everybody saying, yeah, Jester, let's go for it. It's time for you to get out and start hiking again this year. And you guys, I am on, let me double check. I got to fact check myself on this one. I am on day 55 of building strength, building better mental strength, losing weight. And as of this morning, got on the scale. I am down a whopping 7 pounds in 55 days. And I'll take it because it has not been easy. For those of you that have reached out and sent me words of encouragement, I truly appreciate it. Y'all, I have had to learn how to go out to eat again. I've been out to eat a couple times since I started this new venture of getting back in shape and getting ready for my thru hike this summer. And it's horrible. I don't even like going out to eat anymore because you got to order special on the menu. People look at you like you're crazy. I'm going to get back at it. Yesterday after school, we had a retirement party for one of our fellow teachers that is retiring. And I'm telling you guys, the appetizers were flying by, the drinks were flying by, and I have to say yesterday was the very true test of me not eating when others were eating and not drinking when others were drinking, and I can do it. Day 55, we are well on our way, 7 pounds down, and if I keep going like I'm going to be down quite a few pounds by June the 12th, which is when I am kicking off my thru hike. Thank you again for all the messages. We are on the train moving forward, and I am excited. Our guest today, his name is Jason Smith. Jason and I connected back in 2021 in a very peculiar way, and we are going to start off with that story. We are fellow Mountains of Sea Trail hikers. I see some fellow MST hikers in the chat this morning as well. Hello to all the MST hikers out there. Jason recently completed the entire 1,175 miles of the Mountains of Sea Trail as a section hiker. He hiked, he biked, he kayaked the trail. We are going to get into all of that. But Jason is also one of these make your own gear people. We're going to talk a little bit about this wallet that he made for me. Well, I think he did. Or the story might have been he made a few and messed up one and gave me the messed up one. I'm not sure. Jason, you're supposed to be laughing on that one. Jason just told me he has 4 sewing machines at his house. So I would say you are definitely a MYOG kind of guy. And I also have, which I just decided is a very exclusive bag made by the company that Jason works for, Ripstop by the Roll, there are only 12 of these particular bags in existence. I'm excited about that. Jason said that he made 2 of these. I am pretty sure that mine is one of the 2 that Jason made. I'm just going to say that anyway, even if it's not. But you guys, we are in for an exciting conversation with Jason. Not only did he complete the MST, not only does he make his own gear, but he loves to go out and adventure with his family. And I am excited to talk with him about all of the above. If you have questions for Jason as we go, please put them in the chat. I'll pop them up. We'll ask Jason. Let's get into episode number 173 and bring on Jason. Hey, Jason, what's happening?
Hey, Julie. Good morning.
How are you?
Doing well, thanks. As you said, beautiful sunny Saturday morning. And so it's hard to harden up smile on a day like this.
I know. Isn't it great to be in North Carolina? I'm so sorry for all of you that are not in North Carolina, but is North Carolina not the greatest state of all?
I've been a lot of places, and it's definitely tops for me.
Well, let's talk about that because you are a native to North Carolina. So let's start off with that, where you were born, where you were raised, and how that kind of led you to the Mountains of Sea Trail.
I was born and raised in North Carolina, as you said, down at the coast, Morehead City area. I didn't know it at the time, but I grew up just probably 5 miles or less as the crow flies from the trail. Those of you who are familiar with the Oyster Point trailhead on the Newsiak Trail, which is, of course, part of the MST, I can almost see the home I grew up in from that point. In 1995, I came up to Raleigh to go to North Carolina State, and so stayed in reasonable proximity to the trail. Really not much of a hiker in my college years, but ultimately moved to North Raleigh and found out that the MST was essentially in my backyard, just a couple of miles away. Today, I'm sitting about quarter mile, half a mile from the trail again. None of it intentional, but I've always lived fairly close to the MST, which has been sort of fun and interesting. It's been nice to revisit a lot of places that were home at one time as I completed the trail.
Before we get to your journey of completing the trail, let's talk a little bit about how you and I connected. Back in 2020, late 2020, 2021, I was actively hiking on the MST, completing the 40-day hikes, and I was also working on some section hikes of the MST. And there's a particular spot at the end of segment 6 or the end of segment 5, whichever way you want to look at it. Or maybe I said that the opposite. Jason, correct me on that. But there is this little hiker box. I put one of my podcast stickers in the hiker box. I don't know if it was several weeks later or it could have been several months later. You came up to me at NC Trail Days in Elkin, North Carolina in 2021, and I'll let you take the story from there.
I knew of you a little before that, maybe when you were completing the 40-day hikes, but I became aware of the podcast and was actually listening to it on the first day of January 2021, because we were headed out on a first day hike, which is sort of a tradition for our family for the last several years. It's like, well, we're going to listen to a hiking podcast as we drive down, in this case, to Carolina Beach State Park is where we were headed that day. And so I listened to you then and followed along. And at some point I saw that you were hiking segment 5, and I knew I was getting ready I had plans to go in just a few weeks later. Didn't think a whole lot more about it, but yeah, I got dropped off. I was actually starting my hike at Devil's Garden Overlook. And as you said, you walk in to the woods on the trail there, and there's a box. It's a permit box for backcountry sites at Stone Mountain State Park. And I opened the box just to, kind of see what was in there, who's on the trail, who might be at a campsite. And there were no permits in the box. Fortunately, I didn't need one of those sites, but there was a sticker from your podcast. And so it's really cool to find that and connect in that way, having gotten some, I think, good intel watching you go through that segment, and then to find the sticker and sort of bring it all together was a really cool experience.
That was really cool. It's also embarrassing to me too. I'm like, oh my gosh, should I have done that? But it was a box, right?
It was a box. You didn't pin it to a tree, so we'll call it Leave Almost No Trace.
There you go. Leave almost no trace. But that was my segment 5. I decided to do, for some reason, daily video vlogs that are actually still out on my YouTube channel. So I did daily vlogs, and that was the beginning of my foot drama that has led me to where I'm at now. I think I was doing like 5 to 8 miles a day and putting out daily vlogs. which I tried to go back and watch a couple of those when I was re-going through and updating my YouTube channel. And I was like, oh my goodness, what in the world was I thinking? It's been great ever since 2021, connecting with you. It's at least once a year at NC Trail Days, if not more, getting to know your family more and how you all adventure together as a family. And I just think that's so cool. I love it when you put up on your Instagram, pictures of you guys out mountain biking, pictures of you guys out hiking on the trail. And when I was going through your Instagram looking for pictures to steal for the podcast cover art, I found a perfect one of you guys out on the Continental Divide Trail. So I did steal that picture. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No,
so before we get into all of that adventure with you and your family, let's go back and tell us how you ended up doing this journey of section hiking the Mountains of Sea Trail. Obviously, you're from North Carolina, but why the Mountains of Sea Trail and why in sections?
So why the Mountains of Sea Trail? I mean, as I said, when I was living in North Raleigh, where the trail crosses right near Falls Lake, near Shinleaf Campground, Ghostin Road area, that was literally the closest trail to home of any sort. And so I was doing some trail running at the time and just went out and started running different sections of the trail. And, whether you're a hiker or a runner, if you do the same thing over and over again, eventually it's like there's some appeal, but you get bored essentially. And so it's like, well, let's do the next section. Let's do the next section. And then at some point I realized, hey, I've done all of Falls Lake Trail, which is all that was kind of in my mind at the moment. And then you get to the end and you're like, oh, it keeps going, right? There's more white blazes. What is this thing? And, at that point sort of realized, hey, this is the Mountains of Sea Trail. And I literally could just keep doing this for hundreds of miles. As my wife, Abby, likes to say, I find something that I get interested in and then I tend to hyperfixate on it. And so this has been a long-term sort of fixation of the next hike, the next hike, the next hike. And that's really sort of how it evolved. I can't leave something undone, a thread unpulled, and that's sort of the rest is history.
What year was that you started?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I meant to look it up. It's hard to say. It was a little bit organic, but I'll say that between 2014 and 2023, I did all of the trail. I might have actually done some of it before that, but you've got to sort of draw the line somewhere when you started. So I think 2014 is about the right date.
Okay, I got to find out if you're a spreadsheet person or not, because on here I like to make fun of spreadsheets, but I really do have one. As you found yourself going along, was there a connection point to where, okay, I want to get this done, I need to start marking things down, or did you just continue to organically complete the trail?
So I won't say that I'm a spreadsheet person, at least not for this purpose. I live in spreadsheets at work a lot. And so trying to incorporate that into my leisure was not ideal. But I am a data person and I can't help it. As I said, I've been tracking running, hiking, riding for years and years. I tracked every hike. And so sometimes I'd have to, kind of scroll a long time through the app that I use for tracking to find it. But I always knew like, okay, well, this is the next thing. I have 99.9% of every mile that I hiked recorded in an app, essentially.
So what prompted you? Because some people are like, I'm going to hike across the state of North Carolina solely on foot. But the Mountains of Sea Trail is set up to where you can beautifully kayak some of the miles. You can also bike some of the miles. Where did the kayaking and biking come in for you? Was that like a decision up front? Okay, I am not going to walk these road walks, or how did you determine that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I did ride a lot in this process, but I didn't, quote unquote, complete any of the miles by bike. I actually didn't think that I could when I started. I thought that in order to be recognized as a completer, you had to walk and paddle. And so at some point, I don't know if I just realized that it changed or that I realized I had made a mistake or if it actually changed. Regardless, I had done so many of the road miles on foot at that point that I said, well, I'm going to walk and paddle it all. But the bike was a great way to shuttle, because one of the challenges of section hiking, and you've talked about it a lot on your show, is the logistics. Like, if I walk 25 miles or if over the course of a week, I walk 75 or 80 miles, how do I get back to my car? I use the bike to shuttle quite a bit. All day hikes, if I remember correctly, but some long day hikes. I have biked a lot of the road sections of the trail, but I completed those sections on foot as well. In terms of why paddling, so I've been kayaking for a lot of years. Again, another sort of hyperfixation. I didn't want to be a kayaker. Abby and I went on a trip down in Patagonia years ago, and we were in an inflatable kayak that tried to sink on us. And it was two of us in one boat, which some people refer to as divorce boats. Fortunately, it celebrated 20 years. So
you're not divorced, so that worked out, right?
It didn't happen. But at any rate, so we came back, and at one point we went on a kayak trip on the Neuse River in our own or in separate boats down from Falls Dam, which again along the MST, to Capitol Boulevard. And during the drive, they said, we're having a boat sale and you should come check it out, selling other rental gear. And I said, absolutely not. No way. We're not doing this. It's, they'll live under our deck and we'll never go again. Well, hyperfixation kicked in. And prior to my start in the MSC, we paddled almost all of the coast of North Carolina. So from about North Topsail up to Virginia, we've kayaked the whole coast as well. So, longtime kayakers, it just made sense. Hey, there's a way to do this thing and incorporate the boats. Let's do that.
And you said you finished the trail in 2023. Was that strategic where you were going to finish?
It was. I don't think I knew that in 2021 or two, but at some point, and it might have been actually the gathering in 2022. So maybe that's when it was. I realized that 2023 was the year of the trail. And I thought, man, I got a lot of miles in front of me, but wouldn't that be cool if I could finish the MST in North Carolina's year of the trail? And so I really ratcheted up. I spent a lot of last year's vacation and a lot of weekends putting in miles and trying to make that happen. It wasn't originally a goal, but you got to finish one day. So that seemed as good as any.
So what was the hardest part of the MST for you? Was it the logistics? Was it some of the remote sections, maybe in the mountain portion? What would you say was the hardest for you?
Gosh, it's really a difficult question. I don't think any of it was hard. I mean, it's something that I love to do. And so I don't think about the whole journey as difficult. Now, I can tell you what my most difficult day was.
Well, do that. Tell us that. We love stories like that.
I mean, it's just a physical thing. And when I tell you where it is, you're going to probably scratch your head a little bit. And it plays into what we were talking about earlier. But I was hiking between Hanging Rock and Pilot Mountain State Park out on segment 7. And it was, I'll say, late summer. Those of you who are familiar know that the Saratown Trail closes in the fall because it goes across private land and there's hunting that goes on. And so there's a period where you can't do it. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do it this year, I've got to do it in, I don't remember, it might have been August or September. And I want to it's not really close to the house. I'm going to do it as a day hike, get out there and knock it out. I don't remember the mileage off the top of my head, but let's call it a 20-mile hike.
I was going to say, that's a long stretch. That's a long stretch.
And again, I bike shuttled it. So I started by riding from Pilot Mountain to the Torrey's Den area at Hanging Rock State Park, locked up the bike, walked back the other direction. So I had a 20-mile ride before I started a 20-mile hike. And it was hot. And there were parts where the trail was not maybe as well marked as you would like, going across some of the private land. And so there was some anxiety just around, am I in the right place? Am I about to walk through somebody's backyard? All this kind of stuff. So it was hot. It was a really long day. And mentally, like, navigating, I like to know where I am and I feel like I have a good sense of direction, but as soon as I'm not sort of in control of that, it's just kind of a tough thing. So mentally, physically hard day out on the trail. And people say segment 2 is hard, segment 3 and 4 are hard, and they are, but that day for me is the one that sticks. That was just a tough day. So I'm almost back to Pilot Mountain State Park, getting late in the afternoon. And all of a sudden I hear like someone kind of like calling out from the woods. This is where the hard part's over, but maybe this would be interesting for folks. So I look over and there's a guy coming out of the woods and he's sort of staggering and you can't get a really good look at him, but I'm thinking, is this maybe a homeless person or someone who's living in kind of an encampment here and he's trying to get some help or whatever. And generally I'm, happy to do that kind of thing, but I thought, man, I'm just so beat. And I just kind of, walk along, not proud of that, but it's what happened. And then he called out again and I looked again and I realized that he's bleeding. And what had happened was he was on this road and went around a curve and essentially lost control of the motorcycle he was riding and was off 100 yards or so in the woods, conscious, but not in great shape. And so I was able to call EMS. And of course, they asked you, where are you? And I said, or what county are you in? And I'm like, I have no idea what county I'm in. I was right on the edge of Surrey and Stokes, I think. So I'm trying to describe. And yeah, but are you in Surrey or Stokes? Who do I send? And anyway, we sorted it out. EMS got there and he was able to get to the hospital. And ultimately gave me a call a few days later, let me know how he was doing. And I wanted to reconnect with him at some point, and I lost the voicemail and the phone number. But at any rate, I felt like that I got to do something good that day, even though it was a difficult day for me, but it sticks in my mind in part, I think, because of being able to help that guy out.
Isn't it funny how things happen like that? Just when you think like this is the most terrible day ever, it always seems that something will stand out or pop out within that day. That's a great story.
Sure. Yeah. It's one of those things too, gives you some perspective, because I'm like walking along thinking, embrace the suck, as we say sometimes. As difficult as that was, I didn't suck like getting in a motorcycle crash.
No, definitely not. You completed the trail in 2023, so congratulations. And it sounds like maybe that was a 9-10 year journey, not only for you, but we rarely talk about the journey that our family takes with us. Because as section hikers, inevitably your family is typically involved in some sort of way, whether that's mental support, whether they're supporting you, but your family went out on some of those adventures with you. And if I'm remembering correctly, I can't remember if you and your wife did some paddling 200 miles or so. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, Abby and I completed the entire Neuse River Trail together. So it wasn't necessarily an aspiration of hers to do the MST, but she has done a lot of it at this point. I can't remember how long it took me, so I certainly don't remember how many miles she's done off the top of my head. But yeah, all of the Neuse River for sure, which I think is 180 miles or so. And yeah, lots of hiking as well. And as you said, it's become a family event for a lot of different reasons. I mean, first of all, I have just a deep love of the outdoors. Was in Scouts as a kid. I really enjoyed my time there. Kind of got away from it, frankly, a little bit of a geek at times, and was really into computers and technology and that sort of thing through college, and still am. But really at some point just, reconnected with the fact that I love the outdoors. And so I want to pass along that to my kids, and you let them pick and choose. I mean, if I'm into something that I introduce to them and they're not, then, we try to let that go. But they have picked up hiking, love to hike, will ask to go hiking. We all go hiking. And the beauty of that is, 1,175 miles, and more than that when you shuttle and backtrack, takes a long time. And that would be time away from my family and my kids really for almost all of their lives, right? They turn 12 in a couple of weeks. So during, their childhood, I've been working on the trail, but not wanting to be away from them. So we took them with. We've made it a tradition when they were born. They've been on a hike on Father's Day. So a little selfish for me, I guess. But they've been on a hike on Father's Day every year they've been alive except for one. And that's all I want for Father's Day is come to the woods with me.
I love that. And I remember this past summer at NC Trail Days, we were all kind of sitting in this outdoor pavilion area. And I remember just watching your kids. They were just running all over the place. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I had that energy.
Right. Absolutely.
Then when they were bored, they were ready to go. And that's kids, right? They're ready to move on to the next thing.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's great. And I think it's great what you're doing. I love your family, and every chance, every time we get a chance to connect and have a chat, it's always great. And it always seems like it's not enough. It's not enough time to kind of hang out and chat. I know that your kids are really into mountain biking as well, and I think that is really cool. But let's get into this make your own gear thing. Last year at NC Trail Days, y'all can see that has the AT on there. So Jason really wanted to win my soul by giving me something with the AT symbol on it. So let's talk about this, multiple sewing machines at your house and making your own gear, and kind of how you got into that.
I work for a company called Ripstop by the Roll. Some of you may be familiar with from outdoor gear, Ripstop nylon, right? So that's where the sort of the namesake is, although we sell a lot of different technical fabrics at this point. When I got the job there, I was really looking for something that I could use. I've managed people for a long time, managed projects for a long time, but I just wasn't in love with the specific work that I was doing, like the products of the company that I was working for. It was a great place, love the people there to this day. Needed a change, do something I was more interested in. I actually drove by Ripstop by the Roll on my way home frequently. And so I kind of knew where that was, and just knew the company, but found them while researching hammocks. You can do all these custom things, and I wanted to know what kind of fabric did I want my hammock made out of. And I started researching different terms and came across the site. And I'm, at least at the time, I don't do this anymore for any coworkers it might be on. I click the careers button. And
we would never do that.
right. No. But so it said, hey, we're hiring a general manager. And I thought, wow, this company is sort of adjacent to the outdoor space, which I love. The skill set lines up, and went for an interview. And before I interviewed, I wanted to, really do the research, right? Get into what does this company do? What makes them tick? I wanted to sew something, right? And so I picked up one of the $10 DIY starter kit, which is, just a handful of different fabrics and a few different components that you can work with. And I made a stuff sack, which I still carry my lunch in on day hikes, and a 10 stake organizer with the things in that kit. And it was not maybe the smoothest way to sort of get started. I learned a lot, I guess, but it wasn't easy right away. Over time, just, develop the skills with the different tutorial videos we have and that sort of thing. And really just loved the company and got into making my own gear.
What have you made so far?
Well, I was going to say, so I have not made any what I'll call huge projects. There's a lot of talented people that I work with that have made backpacks, which would be sort of the next step for me, so to speak, but also tents and, custom bags for every kind of application you can imagine, from carrying a ham radio. One of the guys I work with is a really talented maker, did that, making tarps, all kinds of different things. And so I've made stuff sacks, tent stake organizers, the trail wallet that you had there, and some for the Mountains to Sea Trail birthday last year as well. I can't remember, maybe 8 or 9 of the little trail wallets with an MST logo. Made a wallet, a bifold wallet. Actually, I don't have it on me, but it is a truly one of a kind with that Friends of the Mountains to Sea Trail logo, and I carry it every day. I've got a zip wallet for the trail and that bifold wallet for everyday use. But that's a lot of what I've made. I've done some gear repair. In fact, I'll probably head into the office today and sew up my family tent because we had a little mishap last time we were out. So it's just really nice to have those skills. I mean, it's, if it's hemming a pair of pants or being able to repair your tent floor, sewing is really useful. That's kind of what I've done to this one. I do have some ideas for things that I'd like to do, but I have more miles to hike and more riding to do and all those sorts of things. So it's still sometimes to fit it all in.
I know all that stuff kind of seems to not get in the way is not the right. It is. It's almost like you have all these. I think hikers are, mostly by nature type A personalities. So when you really get into something, it's like you want to do everything. You want to do all the hiking and all the biking and all the making of the gear. But I will commend you on this, because there is no way on this earth right now that I could even remotely make this wallet. And I grew up around my mother, sewed everything. She fixed everything. She made everything. And it was just never my thing. But I love this stuff. I love it. So if you ever have any that you just want to get rid of that you don't like,
well,
you know who to come to.
I'm going to take it as a challenge, Julie. I'm going to show up somewhere with a sewing machine that I know you're going to be, and we're going to make this.
Oh yeah, let's do it. I mean, I'm all about learning, because I think learning a new craft is awesome. I don't know how many of these are out there.
So the AT ones, there are a lot, because we as a company attend AT Trail Days, and that was a giveaway item as a kit. We don't sell a lot of finished product. We mostly sell the materials to make finished products. And that's another great thing about the company is I get to talk to all these, just incredible cottage gear makers. And we can get into that in a second. But those wallets we gave away probably over the course of 2 years, a little over 1,000 of those. Now, I don't know how many got made into wallets ultimately, but some people politely declined. And so I'm going to be optimistic and say, 80% of what we put out there did get made.
Well, I'm going to say this is a unique item as well, because 5 to 8, that's still not that many if you're looking at grand scheme of populations. Alonda, who is one of our fellow MST hikers, she actually has a question. I'm going to go ahead and pop it up here on the screen. Alonda wants to know, do you have any new goals now that the MST is done?
I do. And I also want to say it depends on what your definition of done is, right? So I've done a lot of the MST. I've hiked from segment 1 to the end of 10, and I've paddled from 11 to 16, and then I've hiked the rest. But I haven't hiked 11 to 16, right? I did the Neuse River. So there's a part of me that still feels the itch of, I got more miles out there on the MST to do. now that I'm done, so to speak, I've got a completion under my belt, I will probably ride a lot of the Coastal Crescent section, thinking about doing it as a bikepacking trip. And now that's public. So maybe I'll have to actually do that. So I will probably do the rest of the MST miles that I haven't done, which also includes, I think, a little paddle section down on the Cape Fear and an alternate up around Pilot Mountain between Elkin and that area on the Yadkin River. So, really being done with the MST is certainly part of it.
I don't know if that's ever going to happen, Jason. I mean, let's get real.
Because they're also always adding miles, right? So I'm like, there's new miles down near Saxonhall that the task force is putting in. So I got to go walk those miles. And so it's kind of cool. Keeps me moving, keeps me seeing new things. So, until it's all off road, I guess I'll always be sort of chipping away at what's left of the MST. Let's see, other goals. I want to do Art Loeb Trail this summer, right? So, or probably spring from, it goes from Camp Daniel Boone down to the Davidson River campground. And, both of those are sort of near and dear to my heart. Having, gone to scout camp at Camp Daniel Boone, and then I spent a lot of time down at Davidson River because Brevard's also a great place to mountain bike, except don't go there because it's too busy. But, I want to do the Art Loeb. Kind of got Foothills Trail, on my, radar as well. One of those two, and I feel like Foothills may be more justified in saying this, but I'm a section hiker at this point, and I'm probably never going to be a through hiker of a long trail. Family obligations and frankly, just sort of personal interest. I don't foresee myself starting at Katahdin, starting at.
Well, you can start at Katahdin too.
Katahdin.
I don't recommend it, but
you can. Hey, I work with two people. I'm not sure if Lance is still on here, but Lance was a springer to Katahdin, but also Avery, who I work with, she's a Sobo hiker, so she started at Katahdin and went south, and she's really proud of that accomplishment.
Yeah, those Sobo hikers, they're rugged. They're tough.
Oh, she is tough for sure. But at any rate, so I'm probably not a long trail hiker, but, I could say, well, Foothills Trail's long enough that I could say, oh, I through hiked.
Yeah.
That'll be my foray into through hiking, maybe.
And you'll love the Art Loeb. It has a taste of everything that you could possibly think of. It truly is the best 30 miles outside of probably the Roan Highlands area in North Carolina. I mean, truly.
Sure. Yeah, we've got so many beautiful sections. I mean, that's definitely one. Roan Highlands is definitely beautiful. And I've done some short hiking up there with the family. We didn't know it at the time, got caught in one of the AT bubbles in the spring. So we were I just wanted to go see that area. I had gotten through reading a book, Stand Up That Mountain by, gosh, I can't remember. But anyway, about trying to protect the view shed of that area for my mind. And I said, well, I want to go see this place. I want to go see what we were protecting. And so we ended up there, and then coming down, we're just hiker after hiker after hiker, and realized, of course, as we got back to the Overland Victory Shelter, the big barn there.
Oh, Over Mountain Shelter.
Over Mountain, yeah. So the people coming out of there, I'm like, oh, this is a through hiker bubble.
Yeah, and they've torn that down.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. I was disappointed that we weren't able to sort of get back before that. But yeah, lots of beautiful spots.
Yeah, and there's no stopping in sight as far as I can tell, as far as your adventures. And listen, what if one of your kids says, hey, listen, I want to go, hike the Mountains of Sea Trail. I want to through hike the Mountains of Sea Trail. So you have that as well. So you may have multiple finishes of many varieties before it's all over with. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, the kids have done, I'll say, hundreds of miles. I don't know for sure off the top of my head, but my son has done around 100 miles of the Noose. So he's got, sort of half of that under his belt. And he has said that he would like to finish the trail at some point. And, I'll definitely enable that. And that would be the one way that I might through hike. I would be if the kids said, hey, we want to do it, knock it out over the summers. But we'll see.
So let's round this episode out by talking about, you also give back in various ways on the Mountains of Sea Trail. I know the club that you're involved in there in your hometown. I don't know if you want to call it a club, but the organization that you're involved in there in your hometown, you have also blazed and marked a lot of the MST. And why is that important to you, not only as an individual, but your family's involved too?
So as you said, I was able to help out with the Friends of the MST doing some GPS marking on the turns to place signs on the roads through town here in Mebane. And it was one of those things where there weren't a lot of those signs for much of the trail that I hiked. And I don't really follow the trail on the phone, so to speak. And especially when I started, that wasn't a thing. Using the paper maps and the turn-by-turn directions can be tough. And I'll say I missed some turns, and it would have been nice to have signs. And one day I saw signs around Elkin, and I reached out to Jim Grady and I said, hey, what are these signs? He said that there was a project to do that. And through lots of different iterations, I was able to help out with that and get those placed through town. So I think it's a big help to hikers to just not have to, it just makes navigation easier.
Well, Jason, we truly appreciate it. And we do have a question from our dear friend, Austin, over at Side Trail Adventures, also Jester Wallace Productions. I don't know if this is an inside joke. I don't know if Austin's jabbing at me or not, but he says tent or hammock, which is better? Or which is preferred, I guess.
Yeah. I'll shy away from which is better, to each his own. But I will say that I didn't spend a single night on the MST in a tent. I was close one time. I carried a tent one time. I carried a tent twice, and neither time did I end up using it, both on segment 18. I mean, I love a hammock, and I didn't have any trouble really for any other trail finding a place to hang, not in any sort of serious way. I mean, sometimes I had to walk a little further than I wished to find 2 trees, but all in all, I love hammock camping. Tent camping can be lighter, but I love the comfort. It just makes a difference for me. So yeah, I was going to set up a tent on the beach in segment 18, and I realized that the place I wanted to camp, there wasn't very much space above the high tide line, and it was winter and there were trucks driving. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to put my tent in quote unquote the road. And so I ended up finding a motel. So not a single night in a tent on the MST.
I think I can say that too. I am almost 100% positive I have never slept in a tent on the MST, and we'll just leave it at that. Well, Jason, this episode has truly been a long time coming. And I want to publicly thank you for making it work with my schedule, because I know we have had to reschedule multiple times, but we finally made it happen. And I truly appreciate you being here. I wish you nothing but the best. And I cannot wait until we see each other again, which hopefully will be soon.
I'll be at the gathering, and I'll probably be at NC Trail Days. So I hope to see you soon. Thanks for having me on. It's been a fun conversation.
All right, Jason, hang on one second. Don't go anywhere. I am going to flip the screen over here and close this episode out. Thank you so much for those that are still in the live chat. We truly appreciate it. Episode 173 is in the books. Again, Jason, this has been a long time coming. Truly appreciate it. I enjoy you and your family each and every time we connect. All right, you guys, until the next one, you know how this goes. Be safe out there. Thanks for listening, everybody, and happy section hiking.
Fargo, the new virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can. In the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Terms and conditions apply. Your mobile carrier's availability and message and data rates may apply. Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.